Hmm. All right, it is 19 minutes gone past five. And yes, it's that time for us to get into the business side of things on Business Hub on Smooth 98.1. My name is Joy Ure. And on Business Hub today, we'll be talking about acquisition, like I actually stated earlier. And yes, it is Tolaram's acquisition of Guinness Nigeria from Diageo. And having this conversation with me is none other than Samson Owolabi. He is an associate research and uh, management uh, portfolio management at Zcrest Wealth. And it's a pleasant evening on this side, and I hope it's also a pleasant evening on your side.
Yeah, it is. Thank you for having me.
Great, great, great. And Lagos here as well can be a part of Business Hub this evening. We will be talking about acquisition and finding out what is happening in the brewery sector of Nigeria. And you can share your thoughts as well via our WhatsApp platform on 009 4440981, and we'll definitely get into it. Talking about acquisitions, right? What do you make of the of this acquisition of Guinness Nigeria by Tolaram from Diageo?
Okay, so thank you very much. And well, the acquisition is something that is it has two sides, but for me, I believe it's just like a painful one, and it's
Okay.
also something that is showing the current realities in the markets. We might as well see
Mm,
that okay, this is going to be like an opportunity maybe for growth or for expansion. But
okay.
when we look at it from another angle, you also
Mm,
look at it as if there's a company that is trying to like exit the Nigerian space. You have to understand the reason behind this and understand why they are doing it. And when you look at their books, when you look at their financials for Guinness, you realize that there's these huge like finance costs that they have been acquiring over time. Now, for context, when you look at the Guinness, they recorded a loss in Q3 2024. Now, I'm saying Q3 2024 because
mhm.
their financial year started around June last year, unlike the one that usually starts maybe in
In
January.
January.
You get so their Q3 is now going to be like it's ended around the 1st of March. When you look at the books, you see, realize that for Q3 2024, they recorded a whopping 56.42 billion naira in the
That's
books.
a
When
that's a
you com-
huge one. That's a
a
huge
huge one.
number.
Now, when you compare this with Q3 2023, which is like
Mhm.
around last year, same period, they made a profit of 1.84 billion. In as much as the profit is still small, and I'm talking about profit after tax, you
Okay.
realize that all these figures is there has been an issue a very long time ago, ever
Mhm.
since the business environment has been harsh. Since
Mhm.
around 2023 time, in Q1 2023, we saw the trifecta effect of electioneering activities, hike in interest rates, and also cash crunch. So all these factors has been in play over time. When the economy was trying to recover again, we started with the issues of subsidy removal, and then we now
Mhm.
started with the issue of FX volatility. Now, for companies like this, they
Mhm.
have their operations most in Nigeria. However, the parent company is in another country, so they are always liable to FX issues, FX
Issues.
pressures rather. So
Okay.
they are exposed to that, and most of these companies they often import raw materials into the
Mm.
Nigerian system. So before this period, during the times of Emefiele, where the FX rate was capped, they will still be able to to let's say divert that huge cost because they can get the raw materials sourced for FX from the CBN at a particular rate was around like I think naira to the dollar was around 460, 470 around that time.
Uh-huh.
So, but when that cap has been removed and everything has been liberalized, you now see that you're not getting that same thing for like close to like 1,003, 1,004 on this current period. So all those
Sometimes
effects,
1.5,
one
depending on
five,
where you're getting it from.
depending on where you're getting it from. Yeah, thank you. So all these issues are really, really affecting them. Now, another issue you have to look at is the hike in interest rates.
Okay.
Whenever the CBN hikes interest rates, you're sending a message to the market that this is the rate at which they will get source for loans. And now for businesses like this, especially fast-moving consumer goods companies, they tend to need a lot of funds for their working capital arrangements. So they tend to like borrow a lot. these issues affect them a lot. That's why when you
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of commercial papers in the markets, commercial anybody coming to market for a commercial paper, they will
Mm-hmm.
have to borrow at a rate higher than the NPR
Okay.
most times because NPM the government rate is tagged as risk free.
Okay.
So if they want to borrow money and you don't want people to invest their money with the government, you have to give them a premium over what the government is giving them. So they have to
Mm.
borrow at a very high rate at increased cost. So
Mm.
these are one of the major reasons why their books were so heavy in terms of the FX cost and also finance cost. Now their finance expense grew by 1,647% from
Okay.
2.95 billion to 51.55 billion, and that is finance
Mm.
expense as per the cash flow statement.
Mm.
So when you
Okay.
look at these numbers, you realize that it is huge, it is much. So in a bid to just reduce all those losses before the
Mm-hmm.
business will just collapse and enter like a
Mm.
bankruptcy, that was the reason why we are seeing this merger and acquisition.
Mm. There's numbers that are actually mind-boggling, but I'm actually happy that you're saying that so that they don't run into bankruptcy and from getting loans from different places, trying to manage the FX rate and all that. It's actually a great one that they are merging and getting relief somewhat. However, can you speak to the challenges these brewery firms in Nigeria are currently facing? Aside the FX, what else? What other issues do they
Yeah, so
have?
other issues they are facing is that, I also checked Guinness's, their books. I realized that they have been recording lower sales volume over time.
Oh,
No,
okay.
so there's something, normal economics, there's price,
Mm-hmm,
there's quantity. In as much as you're producing, if your
mm-hmm,
quantity is not much and you're increasing your price, there's a
mm-hmm.
possibility that you still see increased growth sales. But when it
Okay.
gets to a point where people are not demanding enough again, maybe the price increase is too much, your sales will reduce. So
Okay.
the demand for the product in terms of the volume we've been producing it has been reducing over time. So these factors also, is another thing. And this is not just for Guinness only. This is for almost all the businesses, fast-moving consumer goods in terms of the brewers, especially the brewers also. They are really,
Mm,
really taking the crunch of it because it is the part of people where their disposable income goes to. You
okay.
know, if there's any issue right now, the first thing people will always be concerned about is food.
Food.
So people are after food, it comes with shelter, it comes with
Okay.
housing and the like, and then it comes with a lot of that's when you want to hold a
Okay.
party,
So
buy
can I
beer,
have?
buy a lot of
Mm-hmm.
drinks, so that. So when people have been shifted to the point where they just have to focus on food, clothing, and then
And
maybe the
shelter.
remaining they will now use it to purchase all these items. That's where the problem comes in. So this
Mm,
is one of the major factors they are having. Also, high cost of transportation in terms of the surge in oil prices, petrol
mm-hmm.
and diesel, all those factors are really, really one of the major reasons why they are having that issue. So businesses are facing a lot right now.
So would insecurity as well as power be a problem as well for this industry, or
Yes,
are they all
yes.
not affected?
They are. Insecurity power is also a major thing because when you look at the books, when you look at the income statements and the expenses, you realize that there's always a place
Mm,
for in terms of damages.
okay.
There's always a place for in terms of lighting and
Mm-hmm.
electricity. So when you look at that, you see these figures have surged. We've increased the price of diesel and petrol. The
Okay.
prices of electricity has been increased again recently. So when you look at these
Mm,
factors, you
true.
realize that cost is building up, and there is,
Mm,
as economics, there's this elasticity. There's a point where you are going to expand something to that it will not be able to expand again. There's a point where you're going to increase the price of something to that people will say that no, I'm not doing this again.
I'm not doing this again.
There are some things
True.
that I don't buy in the market again, even as a normal moderate Nigerian. There are some things I don't buy it. Before I love buying sardines, I love buying stuff. But these days, I most time when I see it, I just be like, goodbye, my old friend. I have to settle for something else.
Oh my goodness.
That's the way it is. No, because you have to cost your costs in as much as if your
Mm,
even if your income is not increasing at the pace that you want. So those are
okay.
the major factors that we tend to look at. So these are the major issues facing businesses. Insecurity is a major one also.
Mm. When you say that we're now turning our eyes as right, looking away from all those items that would naturally get, as opposed to, splurging on certain things. Now that is actually your problem, and it just makes me wonder when will we be able to say that, oh, okay, our income is commensurate to whatever it is we're getting out there? Because some people will say, or argue on the point that, oh, I'm getting more money, but I'm earning higher, so to speak, but it's not even meeting the things I need to buy. It's like I keep pursuing, the goalpost keeps moving. I keep pushing, and I'm not getting there. When will I get relief?
Well,
And that
that
is
question is
a
quite
question I don't even know how I want to answer. I don't know
well.
if you have.
It's actually not that hard to answer. It's actually not that hard to answer. Number one thing you have to look at is what is your income. When you look
Okay,
at your income, what's the current inflation rate? Although we have something called personalized inflation, in which your own inflation is different from another person's
another
inflation
person's.
based on your taste. Inflation is currently at around 33.6%.
Hmm.
Now, when you look at this number, is your income increasing on a year-on-year basis? Because that's the rate for inflation. Is your income increasing by 33.6%? If yes, then fine, you're in a good place at least. If no, then fine, there's a problem somewhere. And when you look at everyone, our income is not increasing at that pace. So we will keep on having those issues until we are able to beat inflation in terms of our year-on-year income. That's when we'll be able to say that okay, we're in a better place.
Hopefully, we're going to talk about how we can also figure out what it is with this shrinkflation, with sachet economy and all whatnot on the other side of this quick breather. Lagos don't go nowhere. I still have with me Samson Owolabi. And we are talking about acquisitions and the way forward when it comes to certain organizations. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned to Business Hub on Smooth 98.1. Yes. Nigeria is a beautiful place. That's all I can say.
Well, that's it. We
Like,
are always surviving things, so I really pray we survive all these things. Yeah.
I agree with you on that one. Well, we'll first think about our stomach before we even start to think of, oh, okay, do I want to buy beer? Do I want to have a party? Do I want to buy this? Hey,
And
it's
the, and the sad part is that there's a substitute for beer. That's the thing. Yeah,
uh,
there's a substitute for not really a substitute, but a conditional substitute. When beer, when you go to a bar and they tell you maybe a particular beer is 500 and you see a cheaper one that is like 150, you just be like, you know what, bring that one,
okay, give
even
me
if you
that
don't
one.
really like it.
But you just want something.
And where that 150 one is like maybe somehow too much, you can just go somewhere and just take one that is maybe is way cheaper. Let's say maybe hot
A
drink
hundred.
like a gin. People do that also. They will now mix something else with it just to like reduce the
Get to the,
hotness and
as they
increase
say,
the
get to their height.
you get. So that one too is there.
All right, let's get back in. Oh my goodness. All right, 3 minutes gone past five, and yes, you're tuned into Business Hub on Smooth 98.1. And I'm having a conversation with Samson Owolabi. He is my guest this evening. And we are talking about acquisitions and talking about Tolaram's acquisition of Guinness Nigeria from Diageo. And you as well can be a part of Business Hub. Share your thoughts with us this evening as well. And let's know what you have to say with all this acquisition that's going on out there. But before we went on that quick break, I actually asked you. I said we're going to talk about shrinkflation. I want you to explain the sachet economy as well as what shrinkflation is having its place right now when it comes to breweries, as well as, let me say, consumer goods in Nigeria. What say you on that one?
Okay, so well, in terms of sachet economy, that is something that everybody like is actually seeing right now. We see it all around us. You might not just link it to the name. So sachet economy is something that happens when in a country people tend to like start demanding for products in smaller quantities.
Mm-hmm.
That are products that are really that are sold in small sachets or in small quantities, and that's what we're seeing right now. You see that there's almost nothing that have been sold in big containers before. They don't have the small containers right now. So that's sachet economy. So when you go to the markets, when you see like maybe a particular drink that you used to buy in a bottle that is now in a sachet, maybe they sell it in a bottle for like maybe 400 naira before, and you now see a sachet and they sell it for 50 naira. That is an
Mm-hmm.
example of sachet economy. So it's just like a business strategy that businesses tend to use. And when you talk about shrinkflation, that one is something that you just know is comes about companies now reducing the sizes of their products, maybe in terms of the quantity that is in that product, they are reducing it without
Mm-hmm.
reducing the
Mm.
price. So when you go to the market, a biscuit that you see like maybe 5 pieces in it before, you're now saying
Now
like
see.
three or two and a half. That is another that is another example of that, which is very much like is very popular, or a particular maybe a particular sachet of that you see maybe your favorite cheese or your favorite maybe crunchies. You see it there, and you're now saying that half of what used to be there is no more, and the
It's now
remaining half
air.
have been replaced with air. You get so that's just smooth simple example for that.
Mm. So I'm paying for partly air part item. So bear with it and enjoy whatever it is I get from the
Yeah.
sachet
So the
or
air is
whatever
the
it is.
inflation part. That's it.
Since
The remaining part is the shrink part.
Okay, so it's interesting when you put it that way, but I know that some have said that Guinness Nigeria brand is in good hands when it comes to who's acquiring, and that's Tolaram. What's your take on that one?
Yeah, well, you need to know that what kind of business Tolaram is into, and when you look at their business, you realize that they've been producing. They have so many products that they do, in terms of power oil, in terms of pasta, mini me, chin chin, indomie,
Mm-hmm.
and some other things like semolina also. And when you look at these products, they have been doing well in the market,
True, true.
and they also understand this sachet economy. They know they understand that strategy. So, well, that is a good one in terms of how they do it. But what I just have, the major concern I have is that they focus more on consumer goods in terms of like food items and
Okay.
in terms of consumables. Now, when it comes to brewing, how they are going to like inculcate that
That
particular strategy
yeah.
into the brewing side. That is what I'm looking at. Except maybe they have another strategy that they are going to use for it. But one thing I'll just say is that Tolaram seems to have this kind of like economies of scale, which means that they can produce and reduce the cost of production to a considerable level. So if it's something that they believe that they can bank on and use to like build a business, I think Guinness is going to be in a good place. But for now, I would just say that it's still better to just look at it, look at what is going on right now, have a have like a patient outlook on it, and just I can't really say that I'm very confident that they're going to like build the business and keep on doing it. What I'll just say is that we need to like keep our fingers crossed and watch the strategy that they will put in place to just ensure that business go for us as usual.
Mm. Because at the end of the day, everyone is looking at a win-win situation as opposed to
Yes.
they want to get some wins. They also want the consumer as well to have some wins as well. That's
Yeah.
one of the things we're looking forward to. So, and like you said, fingers crossed, all goes well. Okay, so now that we're even talking about companies that are either exiting or cutting back on certain things, um, a few months ago it was JSK uh that left. Procter and Gamble was last year, or was it
Mm-hmm.
earlier this year? We
Early this year.
Unilever also left at some point. But my major question really is, do you worry about this announcements that come up, and should we be worried that there'll be more exiting or
I do
cutting
worry.
back?
I worry about it, and there's a possibility that we'll see more. It's just, it's just, I just have to be very real and very straightforward. I worry about it, and there's a possibility that we'll see more because when you look at the books, when you look at the financials, I like looking at the fundamentals of things. And when you look at the fundamentals, you realize that the major drivers of these issues they are still in place.
Hmm.
FX Naira is not going up,
Hasn't. Mm-hmm.
it hasn't really gone up. We are still around that, that 1, 2, 1, 3 side, and at times 1, 4. And when you look at the fact that the prices of things are still increasing,
Mm-hmm.
electricity, the oil, and the like. So when you look at all these things, these are the things that are interpreting in the books of these businesses until we
Okay.
see a significant drop in these stuff. That's when we will see like a change. And also, we need to understand the fact that Nigeria's problem is multifaceted. We are not the only one facing this actually.
Mm.
It's a general problem in the world, especially in developing economies. So these issues, they are something that if you don't solve it, or if you don't have a balanced approach towards it, that you're solving it bit by bit, then it won't solve. And it's not something that you can just solve within 3 months or 6 months or even a year. It takes time.
Mm. So is it any possibility, that we can actually look into looking inward and see how we can solve this issue that we're having? Uh Take for example, we're talking about agri sector now. So sourcing these materials inwards as opposed to always going out looking for this raw materials, can we invest more or look for a way to have a balance when it comes to sourcing these materials here?
Well, that is not impossible. It's possible. We can solve our matters internally, but we need to understand that Rome was not built in a day.
True, true. Mm.
We are talking about infrastructural developments. These things take time, and these are not matters of a year or two, and it takes like consistent and determined efforts. We have to be determined about it that this is what we want, this is what we want to build. When you look at some countries like the Saudi Arabia now, they've already started having 2050 plan. They've started already. Even though most of the people
Mm.
doing it there's no possibility or
Me.
guarantee that they will be alive as of that time,
Okay.
but they've started already, and they're already putting in structures in place to continue that project. So if we do something like that, it's something that we'll be able to solve, but we need to reduce our concentration and our dependency on importation. That thing is a serious issue. It's a serious issue, and we need to start exporting more. We need to export a lot.
So when you say that, because I know that you're saying we need to export more, we need to dig in and find out where it is that we're having our loopholes and plug them. Do you think that, well, one of the things that they had initially said was remove fuel subsidy. That was actually
Mhm.
done. Devalue the naira. That has been done, and we've seen how where we are now. So are we caught between the rock and a hard place, or is there light at the end of the tunnel?
Okay, so thank you. So when you look at it, we well, the light at the end of the tunnel. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, but the major question is how long is that tunnel?
Okay. That
How
is
long is that
that is
tunnel?
another question to
So
actually
that's the
think
thing.
around.
So
Mm,
in as much as we are solving it, we also have to, there are sometimes you put in policies in place, you look at
sure.
the other effect of it,
Effect of
and
it.
just feel like, okay, let me try and do something about this. So we need to be balanced about this stuff. Fundamentally, we have things we need to put in place. Infrastructural development is a
Okay.
big one.
Mhm.
I always look at something in our inflation figures, and it's always baffling me. We have inflation as high as 45, 46% in one state in Nigeria, around Kogi State, and we have inflation as low as 33, 34% in some states in the north, like Bauchi. When you look at it, that's food inflation now. When you
Mm,
look at it, you realize that it means that there's surplus, a little bit of surplus in one place, and there's like there's like deficits in another place. And if you can't match that internally, how are we now going to solve our major issues? So we need to be able to build systems in place. Assuming there are road thrown systems that can transport food from one place to the other, it's going to be a good one. where we are producing in one place, we can they are producing in the north, you can get to the south
Take it to
easily that
South.
same day easily, but especially for perishable goods like tomatoes and the likes. So if it's
Mm-hmm.
something that can be done, we will solve a major issue in that place, and it's going to be easy. There's some states in Nigeria that they have that excesses, but transportation, spreading and distribution is a major problem.
Third
And
party.
infrastructural development also,
Mm,
savings, being able to like store goods and keep it safe and the likes. So all these issues are things that we really need to like face, and it's a lot, but it's something that it is achievable.
mm. All right. So, with regards to that, what is the way forward with regarding our economic outlook for the rest of the year?
Well, for me, I to be factual, I still see that the economic outlook is a little bit gloomy. Gloomy in the sense that when you look at the way things are going right now,
Mm-hmm.
we are seeing the results of some of the policies that have been made. People will still have to adjust to these hard policies and the increases in the price of goods items. So it's something that we really need to work on. And also the government needs to understand that when they hike interest rates to a particular level,
Mm-hmm.
in order to curb inflation, they have to understand that they are increasing the cost of doing business in the country, and taxes are going to be reduced also. So it means lower revenue for them also, and they need to still go back to the market and borrow more funds, which is going to like still make affect the general populace. So all these factors is showing that we still have a long way to go. Things are not really going to be that bright as we want, but the major
Okay.
thing is just that we'll find a way to survive, find a way to be innovative, and find a way to like to shift all this burden, and also to overcome the harsh environment. That's just the major thing about it.
All right. All right. I have this contribution here from Dipo, and he says the acquisition of major stakes in Diageo by Tolaram is so much anticipated. The European business do not have the kind of discipline the Indians have, although the downside is that the Indians might dilute the quality of those products. Well, that's that's left to be seen, Debo, but let's hope that that doesn't happen. However, he goes on to say some would fall the fate of the of other companies within the same sector. However, another major advantage is that the Indians have is great distribution network. They know Nigeria more than Nigerians. Interesting. I wouldn't really be certain about that. However, it
No,
says
it's not a question about that. If I may come in, sorry.
okay,
So
okay,
India
go ahead.
has a similar structure like Nigeria in terms
That
of
I agree.
overpopulation, in terms of
Yes,
like poverty level, and in terms of like challenges. So it's like they are seeing what is happening in their
in
country.
their own
They
set.
have in the outside. So they have a way of saying that, okay, how did we solve this problem in our country? Let's try the same thing here and see how it works. So that's
Mm.
just the major thing about it. Well, in terms of like, we might see a lot of sachets coming forward, going forward right now. We'll see a lot of that. That's just the major thing about it.
But aren't we also looking forward to reducing those sachets when it comes to the ecosystem? But thinking about phasing all that so it's not affecting our habitat. But hey, that's another conversation that we will
That's
definitely
another
be looking
conversation. Yeah, that's
forward
true.
to. Finally, Dipo says we need to reduce our dependency on importation of petroleum products as it is a major consumer of foreign exchange. Hopefully, we'll see a light we'll see light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to that one. But I
Yeah.
definitely want to say thank you so much for joining me this evening, Samson Owolabi. You've been excellently, of great help trying to help us understand all the measures as well as the way forward for other companies, and hopefully, like you said, it
Mm.
won't be all doom and gloom. Let's look forward
Yeah,
to
sure.
light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, no matter how long it is. Yeah,
So
thank you very much.
how can people reach out to you for for the conversations online? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, well, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. My name is Samson Owolabi. You'll see a lot of them there, but Samson Owolabi, ACATFMVA. You can reach out to me. I think that's like the best place, the fastest place to reach out to me. And also,
Okay.
you can reach out to me on Twitter also, Seed of Jacob. Yeah, those are the places that you can reach out to me.
All right. right. Thank you so much. And I trust you have yourself a pleasant evening as well. And
Thank
enjoy
you
the
very much.
holiday tomorrow.
Yes, I'll try my best. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you as well, Lagos, for being a part uh of Business Hub today. Well, it always comes your way every Tuesday, and tomorrow. Well, no, not tomorrow. And next week Tuesday will be another time for us to have something interesting regarding business to discuss. So, but in the meantime, still got lots lined up for you on Smooth 98.1. Don't go nowhere. Thank you so much. It was very insightful. I really, I'm looking forward to better opportunities when it comes to sachet economy. I'm
Yeah,
really
thank you
hoping
for
that
having
we
me again.
wouldn't be stuck in that. But hey, like you said, we have to wait to find out and see what's available.
Yeah, we should find a way.
I
We'll
like
just
what
wait.
Tipo also said. Hopefully, they won't reduce quality, even if
That's
they're
the
going.
thing.
Quantity might be affected, let quality not be affected. Because yeah,
And
that's what makes
no,
us run to them in the first place.
another thing when I